Maybe you were at WDO's World Design Congress in London in 2025. Since then, we've been supporting WDO Promotional Member Design Council with the next phase of their Design for Planet mission, upskilling 1 million designers and commissioners in green skills by 2030. While developed for the UK, this mission is valuable to designers around the world. In this presentation, Rachel Bronstein, the program lead for Skills at Design Council, offers an inside look at the Skills for Planet blueprint and its role in equipping designers with the knowledge and tools to help shape more resilient futures.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Bronstein and I'm the Senior Skills Manager at the Design Council. Today I'm going to introduce you to the Design Council's Skills for Planet mission and why it sits at the heart of a transition towards a sustainable economy where people and planet can exist in harmony. I'll share some examples of what this looks like in practice and tell you how you can get involved. But first, before I do that, let me introduce you to the Design Council, the national champion of design in the UK. We work across all design sectors and deliver programmes across business, education, government, public bodies and the third sector. In 2021, we announced our Design for Planet mission to galvanise and support the nearly 2 million people who work in the UK's design economy so that they can help address the climate and biodiversity crises through design. And yet, it's all very well wanting to design in a way that supports the planet, but if designers don't have the skills needed to do so, then how we design will continue to create waste, to create pollution and to cause harm. And in the UK, we know that there is a skills gap here. While 66% of designers have been working on environmental projects in the last year, and 71% say that the demand for environmental skills is only going to grow, only 43% feel prepared to design in this way. It's likely that there's similar skills gaps across other countries around the world as well. This is why we launched a bold ambition to upskill 1 million designers in green skills by 2030, so that designers can help create a regenerative world for all. Why does it matter if designers have green skills? Well, it matters because everything that is not made by nature has been designed by someone. Design therefore holds immense power over how the world is shaped. Although, of course, design has created life-advancing innovations for some, it has also formed part of the extractive system that has caused the climate and biodiversity crisis. Fossil fuels still constitute 80% of the UK's total energy supply, and global waste volumes are expected to rise by 70% by 2050. The climate and biodiversity crisis is also a social issue. The richest 1% of the world's population cause twice as much carbon dioxide and other emissions as the poorest 50%, the 3.5 billion people who live in countries most vulnerable to climate change, facing a crisis that they simply didn't cause. Design has undoubtedly played a role in this, but it also now has a role to play in paving a pathway towards regenerative and equitable futures too. For us at the Design Council, designing for planet sits at the heart of what it means to design well. Designing in a way that destroys the planet and leaves historically marginalised voices, whether that's people or other species as well, out of the equation is not good design. Instead, we need to design in ways that eradicate today's bad things. We need to reduce emissions, pollution, waste and poverty, but we also need to create tomorrow's great things. We need to build bold alternative ways of being. We need to shift systems and inspire equity and inclusion. Green design is simply good design. And we're lucky that we're not starting from scratch completely. The design sector has already shifted. If you look back at the way contemporary design practice has evolved, you can see that in the last 20 years, design has been very much about putting people first. Gradually, we have moved from user-centred to human-centred to inclusive design to designing for social justice. And now we're shifting again because this does not go far enough. And we're now beginning to see a shift from human-centric and Eurocentric worldviews to a systemic worldview that is inclusive to all beings. At Design Council, we've been on this journey as well. Our double diamond, which was created in the early 2000s, put people first. But since we launched our Design for Planet mission in 2021, we've recognized that we need to take a more systemic approach. We need to expand our frame of reference to include all planetary beings. And this is essential to designing ethically and inclusively and sustainably. We call this the green design mindset. Our Skills for Planet mission has therefore launched against the backdrop of all of this existing progress. But the Skills for Planet mission is not the end either. We need this mission to catalyse long-term impact, to initiate a movement that enables a seismic shift in the industry's ways of working, so that green design ultimately becomes everyday practice. Recently, we published our Skills for Planet blueprint, and this is our first step on the journey to ensuring that green design becomes the default. The blueprint was co-designed with over 100 design experts from different backgrounds. It's deliberately high level and multidisciplinary, and it acts as a translation tool to help different design sectors pull in the same direction and maximize their impact on the planet and its people. We'd really love you to use the Skills for Planet blueprint in your own work, whether that's as an individual designer or in your work to upskill others. So what is the Skills for Planet blueprint? What you see on screen here is the key visual that you can find within the blueprint itself. It's the map of the 3 key elements that the blueprint contains. And together, these 3 elements ensure that designers possess critical green skills. Firstly, the green design mindset, which I mentioned a moment ago, the systemic worldview, and the value of all planetary beings. Second, the foundational design skills, the ability to think critically, to frame a problem, to co-create and to problem solve. These are skills that designers already possess and that are put into practice across the double diamond process. Finally, the all-important green design skills. These are 6 skill areas that contribute to designing for planet: regenerating nature, embedding circularity, eliminating emissions, empowering green communities, influencing green behaviour, and evaluating green impact. Each of these 6 skill areas is broken down into 3 subsequent skills, together forming a set of 18 green design skills. And you can find all of these in the Skills for Planet blueprint. I'm not going to be able to go through all 18 today, but now I'm going to give an example of each of the skill areas in practice to help bring them to life. Firstly, regenerating nature. This skill area is all about moving from ecologically extractive practice to deliberate regeneration, collaborating with nature along the way. One of the skills needed to regenerate nature is being able to represent nature in decision-making so that nature has a voice and a seat at the table. Faith in Nature are trailblazers here. They're an ethical personal care brand that you may have seen in bathrooms, famous for being the first company in the world to put nature on their governing board. Systems thinking is woven into the company's day-to-day because they have a role called the Nature Guardian, which champions nature in every meeting, making sure it's fully represented and ultimately leading to more planet-centered design decision-making. Second, embedding circularity, which moves us from a world that sees a pool of infinite resources to a world that respects the planet by cutting out waste and designing in support of a circular economy. An amazing example of this is Bean London, an accessories design and manufacturing company that sees the value in waste. Bean has set themselves up as a circular organisation from the beginning. They consider the whole product ecosystem, from carbon emissions to end of life. They turn traditional design thinking on its head, starting with materials rather than the shapes and colours. The skill to select materials responsibly powers their innovative approach, with one of their collections being made from otherwise discarded DHL banners, as you can see in the image on screen. This approach is good for planet, but also crucially, it's good for business too, as the company doesn't waste money on buying virgin materials. Eliminating emissions. This means revoking high carbon materials in exchange for net zero or even carbon negative design. both throughout the design process, but also through the end design itself. BedZ, a pioneering low-carbon development in Sutton, demonstrates this skill area in practice. The project remains a benchmark in sustainable urban design, in a sector that contributes approximately 25% of the UK's CO2 emissions. The skill central to this development is the way in which they have implemented a decarbonisation strategy, which achieves low emissions through a range of measures, for example, solar PV, biomass boiler, and green electricity tariff. Not only do the homes use 45% less electricity, but they also save a 3-person household an average of £1,391 a year. Green design is good for planet, but it's also good for people, as you can see through this example. Next up, we have empowering green communities, which charts the skills needed to redistribute power back to communities, rather than exacerbating injustice and inequity, as too often happens when communities' perspectives are overlooked or not consulted at all. A key skill when empowering green communities is gathering community insight so that they're involved in design decision-making from the start. An excellent example showcased in the blueprint is Voluntary Sector Futures, a co-designed 10-year vision for the voluntary sector in Wales, which was a deeply collaborative project that spent a lot of time thinking about how to collect insights and how to engage diverse voices. This skill is important because design too often happens at the expense or neglect of the communities that will be most affected by the design. Not only is that unethical, it also means that the design is actually less likely to achieve its full impact potential. For example, if it's a local infrastructure, the local communities will know best how it should and can integrate with local nature, so consulting them is super important. Next, we have influencing green behaviour, which encourages designers to facilitate green choices through their designs, communicating the value of green design to businesses and to other designers. When it comes to green skills that designers need, it's important to remember that they need to possess influencing and communicating skills. Every moment that someone interacts with your design is an opportunity to facilitate green choices, and this is a key skill contained within the blueprint. Fat Llama brings this to life. This is a peer-to-peer rental marketplace, enabling people to rent almost anything. The platform facilitates green choices by offering lenders and borrowers insurance, identity checks, and seamless logistics, all of which incentivize responsible behavior by minimizing any risk that's associated with the experience of renting. This demonstrates that to operate in a circular way, it's not just about the product or the service itself, it's about the surrounding experience, it's about the behavior. And Fat Llama makes environmentally conscious decisions easy, which ultimately allows this circular business model to thrive. Finally, we have evaluating green impact, which helps designers step back and see the big picture, setting measurable impact goals so that design is impactful from the start, and then measuring this impact and actually using the data to iterate your designs. We know from our research that only 19% of designers consistently measure the environmental and social impact of their projects in the UK. And if we don't understand the impact of a design, then it may cause unintended damage to the people and to the planet. To combat this, it's essential that designers possess the skills to evaluate green impact, such as setting measurable impact goals. Superb, which is a forest restoration project, demonstrates this skill in action. They set measurable impact goals using metrics that enable short and long-term restoration progress, understanding the need to track success across a long time period in order to really understand how the forests are developing. Their built-in governance approach has led them to track that species richness has increased by 20 to 30% in several restored plots. So that's the final skill area. Hopefully together, these examples show that designing for planet and having the skills to do so is not just good for our precious planet, but it's good for people and for business as well. So having listened to all of that, it's time to ask, what could you do to upskill designers with these critical green skills? We would love you to use the Skills for Planet blueprint to help you do this, whether that's as an individual designer or to help develop the sector and build skills in others, ultimately helping upskill 1 million designers in green design skills. There's a lot for designers to contend with right now, from sustainability to data to AI. But I urge you, wherever you sit in the design sector, to start somewhere and to keep exploring. If you agree that Skills for Planet is a critical mission to help accelerate the green transition, then please do take a look at the Skills for Planet blueprint and tell us how you can support our mission. You can access more information and sign up to join the mission using the QR code that's on screen now. Thank you so much.